What's going on, everybody? David here. Today we're going to talk about Patriot Pay. So we're going to go over everything that you want to know about Patriot Pay. But first off, on this channel, we talk about personal finance and traveling on a budget. If that sounds like something interesting to you, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the little bell notification so you can get future updates on my videos. Okay, so in a minute, we're going to go over to Mitt Romney's website and we're going to look at his press release and we'll look at this new Patriot Pay. And we'll dissect it at the very end. You're going to want to wait till the very end because I'm going to give you 3 reasons why this might not be such a good idea. So we'll go ahead and take a look. So let's go ahead and look at the website. And this is Mitt Romney's website, his press release, and we'll move down. And first, let me read this whole first part here so you guys can kind of get an idea of what he's talking about here. So, in order to help compensate essential workers who are necessarily subject to greater risk of COVID-19, U.S. Senator Mitt Romney today proposed that they receive Patriot Pay, a temporary bonus of up to $12 per hour in May, June, and July. 1/4 of this bonus would be paid by the employer and 3/4 would be paid by the federal government, funded by a refundable payroll tax credit. With Patriot Pay, a grocery store clerk earning $10 per hour would receive an hourly bonus of $12 for a total of $22 per hour. Romney's announcement comes as Congress and the administration continue to discuss outlines of a potential Phase 4 relief package. So this is a basic summary of what the Patriot Pay would offer and what it would do. Now, I've put some highlights on some of this stuff I want to go over and make sure I don't miss it. So the first thing here, Patriot Pay would help ensure that essential workers in critical industries designated by the Department of Labor and Congress. There's a problem right there. It says Department of Labor, which I'm okay with, but Congress. So how is Congress going to decide on what's essential, what's not essential? I mean, that's going to be a whole can of worms that they're going to open there. But nonetheless, it's in the proposal. Okay, let's continue. Receive greater compensation than the unemployment insurance rate. All right, so what Mitt Romney's saying here is he wants to make it more desirable to go back to work than to be on unemployment. And right now, unemployment, you're getting that additional $600 per week, and that's by the federal government. And understand this too, Congress and the president signed off on this unemployment thing. So now they're trying to say, oh, you know what? It's not working because now we see a lot of people, they're getting a lot of money on unemployment. They might not want to go back to work. So that's the kind of situation that they're in right now. They want to make something that will entice people to go back to work. So let's give them additional $12 per hour. And so that's the whole reason for this. And you have people right now, essential workers who are working, and they're going to try to give them the $12 an hour. And then hopefully some other businesses, when they come online, they'll start giving $12 an hour. So that's the whole concept behind this. Okay, so let's move on and let's get a quote from Mitt Romney. Healthcare professionals, grocery store workers, food processors, and many others, the unsung patriots on the front lines of this pandemic, every day risk their safety for the health and well-being of our country, and they deserve our unwavering support. So this is what Mitt Romney's saying. We need to give this money to the frontline workers because they deserve it, right? And I agree 100%. I'm all excited now looking at this thinking this sounds like a really good plan. But there's more. Let's move on. So let's look at how this is going to work. How's the pay going to work? For essential employees that make less than $50,000 annually, employers would receive a 75% refundable payroll tax credit for a bonus of up to $12 an hour. Okay, so federal government's going to pitch in 75%, and then the employer needs to pitch in the additional 25%, and that gives you the 100% for the full $12. All right, let's go ahead and continue. For essential employees making over $50,000 annually, the tax credit phase out by $24 for every additional $500 of income until an annualized income hits $90,000. So we're looking at a system where you can get money up into $90,000. Once you hit $90,000, then you're not going to be able to get anything from this as far as the Patriot Pay. Okay, so let's move down here. So the maximum tax credit is $1,440 per month per employee, meaning a full-time worker would receive up to a $1,920 monthly bonus. So that sounds really good. You're going to get $1,900, a little over $1,900, and you'll get that every month. So that's a good perk. That beats $1,200. And I understand the $1,200 is not just for people who are employed, but people who weren't employed, people who are on fixed income. I understand that. But let's say if you are employed and you got that $1,200 stimulus check. Now you're looking at a situation where you can get $1,900 a month, a little more than $1,900 a month. So that sounds really, really good. All right, let's move on down here. Now, they give an example here. So hopefully this example will kind of show you exactly what they're thinking and how they're thinking. A grocery store in Provo, Utah could opt into Patriot Pay to give their workers a $12 an hour bonus. The employer would contribute $3, while the federal benefit would be $9, meaning a $10 an hour worker would receive a $5,760 bonus from May to the end of July. Okay, so basically what they're saying is from May 1st to the end of July, that's the money that you'd be looking at getting. And that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money, I have to say. Now, breaking this down further, the grocery store worker's weekly paycheck would include an extra $480. See, every week you're going to get an extra $480. So it all looks good. I think the plan is pretty solid the way it's written. But there's some stuff in here, and I kind of picked apart some things, and there's some issues that I have with it. And we're going to talk about those issues right now. So the first issue that I have, it's Mitt. It's Mitt Romney. Okay, so the author of this bill is Mitt Romney, who is an arch rival, I guess you can say, of President Trump. President Trump and Mitt Romney do not get along. Although they're both Republicans, Mitt Romney did vote to impeach the president earlier this year, and the president has never gotten over that. So I cannot see the president signing a bill that has Mitt Romney as the author. Maybe co-author, maybe, I don't know, but the actual author of the bill, I can't see him signing that. And that might be petty, but I'm just saying, hey, the way things have been going, there have been some very partisan stuff going on. So when it comes down to it, I just don't see it happening, mainly for that reason. Now, if someone else steps up, another senator steps up, Schumer has a plan that's very similar to this with the Hero Fund. But if another senator steps up, maybe on the Republican side, and they start negotiating some things and they author a different bill, then I think it might have a better shot. But nonetheless, this bill, although it seems pretty solid, there's some weaknesses in it. And we'll talk a little bit about that too. So because of the Mitt Romney Trump thing, I don't think it's going to go too far. I think there are a lot of senators, Republican senators, that aren't going to jump on board with Mitt either because of the conflict between the two, the president and the senator. So these other senators aren't going to want to jump in either. They're probably going to want to try to figure something out on their own, something different. So that's one thing. Now, the next thing I need to talk about is it's very interesting who they put on here. They didn't put any city employees. They didn't put any county employees as far as essential workers. And we know there are a lot of essential workers that are county employees and city employees, police, fire, on down the line, right? So they didn't put any of those people on there. And I think there could be two reasons for that. One is they're going to have a separate funding for state and local government, which I'm hoping that's going to be in this next phase. However, the city employees right now and the county employees, and I talked about this in my last video, police officers right now, some police officers are going to be going on furlough because the cities can't afford to pay them. So there's really an urgency. There's an urgency to get another stimulus check. I know most people say, yeah, we need another stimulus check, but there's even more of an urgency to get state and local governments money. They need money. They need to be able to pay their employees. And we all understand that fire and police officers are very, very important, especially in a situation like this where you have people, fire needs to go out and respond to people who might be on their deathbed and all variety of situations with COVID-19 and with other things. So we're looking at a situation where that money needs to come from somewhere. You notice they didn't put anything about that on here. So I think the main reason that they didn't put any local government in here is because a lot of local government, they're broke. They can't pay this extra 25%. So the way it works is that 75%, like we talked about, 75% is coming from the federal government and the 25% is coming from the employer. Now, if the employer can't afford to pay that extra 25%, well, then now you have a situation that we're looking at here where local governments already said they're broke. They don't have any money. They're going to start either laying people off or furloughing people in order to make their budget because they don't have any. And the main reason why these local governments don't have money is because the businesses aren't open. So the revenue stream that they're getting, the taxes, the revenue stream that they're getting from the businesses, if the businesses aren't open, they're not making any revenue. So the city's not making any revenue. The county's not making any revenue. And so, or I'll say they make a lot less revenue. So if they're making less revenue, they can't afford to just go on forever and pay their employees. They're going to have to do something that's different. Now, another thing, I want to show you guys this because I thought this was pretty interesting when I looked at it. So looking at the Salt Lake Tribune, and this is, I believe this is a quote from Mitt Romney. Basically, it's not in quotes, but it looks like it's something that he said. It said, Romney said. So basically, Mitt Romney is saying here, so while businesses would have to chip in more, so basically saying they're going to have to pay that extra 25%, right? So let's continue. Romney said consumers may have to pony up a little more to care for those caring for us. So you get that? Consumers, that's us. So let's say you own a bread shop and you sell bread at $3 a loaf. Now, because of this whole situation, and you have to look at small businesses and businesses as a whole, they're hurting right now. And so, yes, when they start going back to work and they start hiring their employees back, there's going to be situations where, and some businesses have already said, I can't afford to pay them what I used to pay them. I might have to pay them less. Which is really crazy. So you have to go back to your job. They're going to call you back in. And a lot of employers are saying, yeah, I feel bad about this, but I'm going to have to call them back in and say, hey, you were making $12 an hour before, but I can only afford to pay you $10 an hour. So that's one of the situations. And then that compounded with unemployment where they might be making a lot of money on unemployment, or at least the comparable money on unemployment. Do you really want to face that risk of going back to an environment where you can be exposed to COVID-19 if you don't have to, if you're pretty much making the same amount? And then even if you're making more when you go back to work, if you're looking at a situation where you have to drive to work, you have to pay for different things like lunch and all that kind of stuff, and expose yourself to COVID-19, would you do it? That's a question, right? Or should you be forced to do it? If you answer the phone, unemployment saying they're offering you a job, you need to take that job. So now you're being forced to go back into a workforce that could be potentially dangerous. So let's get back to the employer. So you're an employer, you hire your employees back in, and now instead of paying them $10 an hour, you need to pay them a little bit more. You have to pay them 25% more, right? So that makes sense. Pay them 25%, and they're going to get the 75% from the federal government, and then that will give them that increase, that $12 an hour increase. So some employers might look at that and say, okay, well, if I have to raise wages, then I'm going to have to raise the price of my product. So if I'm selling loaves of bread, I'm going to have to raise that up. So instead of $3, it's now going to be $4.50. And so for this, and this is only for 3 months, right? So for this 3-month period, the price of bread's going to go up. Now, that might not affect people who are working, these essential workers who've gotten that $12 an hour increase, because now they have a little bit more money to spend. But who does it hurt? It hurts people on a fixed income, people who are retired, people on SSI, people on SSA, people on railroad retirement. So all these other people who got the stimulus checks before, now they're facing a situation where the price of products are going to be going up. And their income is fixed. It hasn't changed, right? So it's one of these deals where now you're getting into a situation where they have to raise prices on things. And then if they raise prices, are they going to bring them back down at the end of July? Are they going to keep them relatively the same? I could see a business saying, okay, right now I'm struggling as a business, so I need to raise the prices of things anyway. So when you get back to business, because I have to recoup this last 2 months of not working. So I have to be able to pay those bills back. So, yeah, and I get it. We get the PPP and all this stuff. We could throw in all these different little programs and loans and stuff that are out there. But let's face it, not every business is getting those. And I will guarantee you that they're still going to try to maximize. They're a business. They're going to try to maximize their profits. So in situations like this, they are going to raise the prices of things when you go back. And so this bread that was $3 is now $4.50. They might bring it down, but bring it down a little bit. Let's bring it down to $4. See how that works. Bring it down to $4. So it'll stay $4 even after July. You're still going to have $4 loaf of bread. And I'm just giving you an example, but it's there's some things in this plan that just don't look right. And although on the face it does look good, and I think everybody would agree that essential employees need to get higher pay, at least for temporary higher pay. So that's the Patriot Pay. Just wanted to put that out there to you guys. I want to know what you guys think, though. Let me know if you think this plan would work. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.